Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Live, where you'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on for Candid Live. Joining me is Aaron William Freeland. Hello, Aaron. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Frank, how are you feeling today?
All right. Okay, so let's go right to the Canadian Football League,
Sure.
and we can talk about the Elks. And they release a national linebacker, Woody Applebon.
I think you may actually have the wrong information pulled up there,
No.
Frank. I believe that is from Friday's show.
Oh, okay. Then what
No
I'll do
worries.
is
The leadoff I have today is Alouettes and Stampeders.
okay,
But
do it.
sure. So for those of you who were watching, we actually got to see one of those rare things in the CFL over the weekend. On Saturday, Montreal and Calgary actually tied 19-19. The good news is that the Stampeders are managing to keep themselves in the playoff hunt after all. The Alouettes, after starting the season with a gangbusters record, are now 10-2-1. The shine has come off them a little bit, but they're still well out in front. Looking to stay in a playoff conversation in the West, though, because they've lost four straight. The Stamps really needed to try to get this win. This does change the complexion a little bit when it comes to the standings. We are actually looking at a bit of a log jam in the West right now. Winnipeg is 7-6. Saskatchewan is 7-7. Saskatchewan and Edmonton are both just with 5 wins, and Calgary's bringing up the rear at 4-8-1.
How about the Ticats and the Red Blacks?
Well, this was a rather interesting one. The Ticats actually managed to stop the Red Blacks' comeback. Now, this is just the 4th win of the season so far for Hamilton. They're currently 4-9-0. One of their other victories, unfortunately, came at the expense of the Toronto Argonauts at the Labor Day Classic, but they're managing to slowly stop the bleeding. I don't think they're quite necessarily done yet, but with a 37-21 win over the Red Blacks on Saturday at Tim Hortons Field, they're looking to set themselves up a little bit better for the coming home season. They may, the coming postseason. They may not necessarily be able to make it, but they could potentially play spoiler.
Well, that's always something that one should consider. And then we've got the Argos against a reheated BC Lions in Vancouver, come back with a win, a very strong win, in fact.
Oh, most assuredly. Do you recall what it was like the last couple of times they played BC, Frank? If I remember correctly, they were on the wrong side.
They actually won this year. They beat them at home. It was one of the victories they had. Yeah, the problem with the Argos playing BC is you have 2 number 1 quarterbacks this time. The ones that, well, anyway, Adams was the first a number 1 quarterback, but the Argos were going with their backup. In this game, the Argos did what they needed to do, and you know what? To not lose this game was important. It was a game they couldn't lose.
No, for sure. And I'm actually glad to see Kelly came out and complete 18 of 28 passes. I was surprised Rourke didn't last longer in the game than he did. I think a lot of people were surprised by the fact that he didn't make it out for the second half. I mean, given the way that he performed and the fact that he'd managed to staunch some of the bleeding, I think I expected at least to see him in the game a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? That contract might be weighing him down a little bit.
It seems that it might be affecting his mobility in the pocket.
Well, yeah, and that was a double entendre in the pocket. Mm-hmm. It's not about whether a player tries or not. It's sometimes how much a player does try, and sometimes that amount is too hard, and they pressure themselves. And this is the danger of quarterbacks that have success, right? That's one of the reasons why it's so hard to maintain, because they set a standard for themselves, a standard that the team acknowledges. For example, they did with the Argos NBC Lions. They both have added some pressure to two very young quarterbacks that, in fact, are still a little wet behind the ears.
Oh, for sure. And it obviously it's not doing either of them very many favors, but in this particular case here, it looked like Kelly did manage to come out on top. So kudos to him for that. The Argos boat may not necessarily be righted, but at the same time, it seems like they're trending in the right direction. They've managed to get themselves back over 500 at 7-6-0 for the time being. They'll have a chance to take on Hamilton. Hopefully, Hamilton won't play spoilers this Friday at BMO Field, so that'll be the return game for the Labor Day Classic.
We went to the Blue Jay game last week, and it was a lot of fun. We spent it in the center section on the 500 level, where it was party all the way from foul pole to foul pole. Which, by the way, I like to call fair poles because if the ball hits it, it's fair. So we had fun. It was Looney Hot Dog Day.
Those are always fun.
And they sold almost 50,000 hot dogs.
I'm glad you had a good time doing it. Did you find yourselves
I made a contribution. I think I had 6 or 8.
Were you on the park social side or the Corona rooftop patio side?
Corona rooftop patio.
Very nice. They have a good selection of live music there too. It's a
yeah, they have that too. You're right about that. All right, let's carry on and stay in baseball. And so if you're a catcher, please don't show up your pitcher because you might get released.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised this actually happened. The individual in question is Derek Bender. He was a team's 6th-round pick in this year's MLB draft out of Coastal Carolina. He was originally playing for the Twins Single-A affiliate in Fort Myers, the Mighty Muscles, who play in the Florida State League, and were eliminated from playoff consideration with a second-half record of 35-25. During the second game of a September 6th doubleheader, Bender was tipping pitches from pitcher Ross Dunn to hitters from the Lakeland Flying Tigers, according to an ESPN report. Lakeland scored 4 runs in the second inning on the way to a 6-0 victory and won the Florida State League West Division. Fort Myers squandered a 6-game division lead in the season's final 3 weeks. Lakeland coaches informed Fort Myers coaches of what Bender had actually done. There were reportedly no indications that Flying Tigers batters were aware of Bender's intentions, nor were there attempts to steal signs or any such actions. He apparently, the catcher told teammates he wanted the season to be finished. According to ESPN, he was banished to the team's bullpen for the final 2 games of the season instead of being allowed into the dugout. So I'm always curious as to why players who supposedly love the game want the season to be done sooner. But maybe it's just me.
I don't know. I'm not happy the way the season went. I don't know. It does sort of give one a hint of a lack of professionalism, that's for sure. Let's go to the National Hockey League, and the Senators fall 0-2 at the Prospects Challenge tournament in Buffalo.
Yeah, their game with the Devils on Friday the 13th apparently turned into a bit of a horror show. It was a 9-1 loss, which I'm pretty sure that they were very happy to turn the page on when they played against the Pittsburgh Penguins, but came up slightly better in a 4-2 loss. After a scoreless first period, apparently the Sens managed to make a total hash of a dump in, turned the puck over behind their own net on a poor reverse attempt, and then had 3 men down behind their own goal line. So no one was within 20 feet of Jack Beck when he got the pass out front and scored for the Penguins. This is one of those situations where the players are still going to be learning how each other plays. Prospect camps are difficult because you're doing 2 or 3 practices a day with 2 or 3 scrimmages a day. It's interesting to see where they go from here and if that's given them any of the information they need.
Former Jets captain Blake Wheeler may return to Boston.
Yeah, over the past week or so, reports have been surfacing that the Bruins are considering handing a PTO to Blake Wheeler. He originally got his start with the Bruins, but the other part of that rumor was also Kyler Yamamoto might have potentially been signing there as well, but it turns out he signed a PTO with Utah this past week. just one summer removed from having the final season of his contract with the Jets bought out, Wheeler is a free agent and able to sign wherever he wants to. But it doesn't appear that there's a lot of interest out there for a 38-year-old. So, I mean, while he did spend the 2023-2024 season with the New York Rangers, where he only appeared in 54 games due to injury, um, it's a tough come down for any professional player.
38 years old is tough in hockey. Flames goaltender job wide open. Why is that, Aaron?
Well, they traded former Vezina Trophy runner-up Jacob Markstrom to the New Jersey Devils, so that means they have no clear number one. The hope is that Dustin Wolf will grow into that role. Craig Conroy has made it clear that the starting goalie position is definitely up for grabs. The people that do seem to be up for it would be Dan Vladar, Dustin Wolf, and Devin Cooley, who are all scrapping for the role.
Absolutely. Let's go with the Oilers and Evander Kane. Will he make it back to the Oilers lineup sooner rather than later?
Well, he's scheduled for surgery in the next 10 days or so. This was reported on Friday to repair damage from the sports hernia he had carried through last season. For those who don't know what a sports hernia is, it is an abdominal injury. It can sometimes be in the pelvic floor. It can sometimes be in the belly button, and it's not a lot of fun to carry around with you. There's a lot of bed rest that's required. There's a lot of not picking up anything heavier than about 10 pounds. A case of beer is right out. You shouldn't be handling that at all.
Not even light?
Not even light. But we'll see. We'll see if Evander makes it back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
He's had a good run in Vancouver. Sorry, in Edmonton, and we'll see if it keeps going for me. It continues that run. The Canucks signed goaltender Dylan Ferguson to a PTO. You can never have too many goaltenders.
No, I think that's the one thing a lot of NHL teams are learning the hard way is that you need to pick up as many goalies as you possibly can. Dylan Ferguson is from Lanceville and played his junior career in the WHL with the Kamloops Blazers. He was originally drafted in the seventh round of the 2017 draft. Spent last season in the KHL with Dynamo Minsk and finished the season with a 9-9-0 record while posting a save percentage of 904. He actually spent most of his time bouncing between the AHL and ECHL. He won the Kelly Cup with the Fort Wayne Comets in 2019. Listed at 6'2 and 194. He's also ninth in all-time wins with Kamloops, posting 61 wins during his 4 NHL seasons. He's potentially a real diamond in the rough. I do hope he manages to stick with the club because I definitely think, based on his past experience, he deserves a shot.
Former Leaf news. Start with JVR. He signs a 1-year deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Now, there were noises earlier in the week that it was potential. It was potential that he could join Toronto on a PTO, and while I think it would be nice to have him parking his butt in front of the net for power plays, due to his age, he's 35 now. There's a question about his mobility, but according to Chris Johnston from TSN, he signed a 1-year deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets worth $900,000. He was with the Leafs and the Flyers. He spent the last season with the Bruins, where he had 11 goals and 27 assists in 71 games. But this, I think it's because they got Pacioretty that kind of put the kibosh on him potentially coming here.
Okay, and Wayne Simmons reunites with the Flyers.
Yeah, he's going to be going back to the Flyers to take on a hockey ops role, as well as being a community relations ambassador. This is good because he spent 15 seasons in the NHL, where he played over 1,000 games with the Flyers. He was an All-Star in 2017 when he won the MVP. He won the Mark Messier Leadership Award in 2019. I don't think his career basically ended. I don't think he ended the way he wanted it to end in Toronto. This is a chance for him to try to see if he can get a ring on the other side of the bench.
There you go. Niemela and Hervonen shine in the prospect showdown. 2 young Leafs doing well.
Very well, actually. I'm very glad to see that, especially Ronnie Hervonen, who actually missed a good chunk of last year with an eye injury. Good to see him finally back on the ice. Topi Niemela also came out and showed out well. After 2 assists in the first game against the Habs prospects, Niemela continued, got 3 assists for 5 points in total. Um, he's actually been spending some time on the blue line with Cade Weber, which is going to be interesting to say the least. Um, so we'll have to see how all of that develops. But he had a couple goals. Ronnie Hervin had a couple of goals on the Sunday as well. So happy to see that he's slowly starting to get his touch back.
Let's go into the news and talk about Canada. Elections are always important, and we have 2 by-elections, one in Montreal and one in Winnipeg. Tell us more about it, Aaron.
Well, there's been a lot of noise made about the Montreal election, in particular because Trudeau's face doesn't appear on any of their campaigns posters or ads. In addition, Winnipeg's Elmwood Transcona seat has been vacant since the NDP's Daniel Blakey left federal politics. Now, the NDP are hoping to hold on to the riding, but polls are suggesting that the Conservatives are actually a potential upset in the making. The Montreal seat of LaSalle-Amal Verdun opened up when Justice Minister David Lametti left politics earlier in this term. The question here is, will the Conservatives be poised to take over, or will the Bloc Avenir Quebec manage to make further inroads?
Members of Parliament are making it back to Ottawa. It could be a very interesting sitting.
Yep, tensions high. Rhetoric is flying. The CPAC on CPAC Live this afternoon during question period was rather interesting. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of sparring over carbon prices. There's going to be questions about the ability of Trudeau to lead, not to mention more stuff being thrown out by the Conservatives to try to unseat them. So I'm looking forward to it. It could potentially be entertaining.
Absolutely, it can. Magnitude 6.5 earthquake reported off BC coast on Sunday.
So this was a bit of a wake-up call. The U.S. Tsunami Warning Center said that there was no threat of a tsunami from the earthquake. Due to the earthquake's offshore epicenter and steep depth, there were few reports of shaking felt on land, but it struck along the Queen Charlotte Fault, which is a strike-slip boundary between the Pacific Plate and North American Plate. It's highly susceptible to seismic activity due to the faulting in the region. The largest one prior to this was actually a 7.8 that occurred on October 27th, 2012.
What's going on 16th Avenue in Alberta? It reopens. Well, what's the history of this Calgary street?
Well, do you remember that water main break that they had?
Okay.
This is the knock-on from that and the follow-up for that. After nudging into the yellow or strain zone of water usage on Friday, it's back down into the sustainable zone. Calgarians actually used 471 million liters of water on Saturday, but that's reasonably below the 485 million liter sustainable zone threshold, so it's a good sign. The Bears Paw feeder main, which is a critical piece of infrastructure that distributes the majority of Calgary's water, is out of service. So the Glenmore plant right now is producing approximately 70% of Calgary's water supply. Normally, it only handles about 30. So the good news is now that they've got that reopened and they're back into the green zone, things are going to be easing a little bit.
So the Liberal candidate in the Montreal by-election says it's about me, not Trudeau.
Well, the by-election in LaSalle-Amal Verdun, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, should have been Laura Paulini's to lose. That particular riding has always been a Liberal bastion for decades now. It has a large Anglophone population with strong Italian roots, but this time it's hard to predict what's going to happen when the polls close in about another 2 hours and 40 minutes. After 9 years in power, surveys are showing the Liberals are trailing the Conservatives in every part of the country except Quebec, and even in Montreal in that riding, which should be a given, it's now up for grabs. So we'll have a further update for that for everyone on Wednesday. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on it now. There are actually 91 candidates on the ballot for this by-election. So it's one of the biggest by-election slates ever.
Well, as it turns out, Mr. Crosby Captain Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins has signed with Pittsburgh, and
Yeah.
that's a good signing for them.
Oh, for sure. It's only a 2-year deal. So he's only going to be with them through the 2026-2027 season.
His
But
20th and 21st years in the NHL and with Pittsburgh, all of them.
it's a fantastic record of longevity. I do also hope that he does remain with them all the way through and they don't move him at the trade deadline so that he can retain all of his records as being with a single team. The good news is it's $8.7 million, which is really helpful for Pittsburgh in that it's not an overly significant portion of the cap. It's an amount that Sydney's stuck with for a long time now, and there's a bit of superstition that goes along with it, but just glad to see that he's sticking with that amount and helping out the team.
Well, he's a valuable player. Can anyone doubt his experience? Can anyone doubt his talent? Can anyone doubt his effort? Don't think so. I think it's a pretty good deal for them. Sometimes there's a danger with a player like this of this quality, Aaron, that teams try repaying him for, what he's done in the past and might overpay just because, he's our guy. We got to pay him. This was an excellent compromise.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's one of those that pays respect to the player because he still continues to get his jersey number, but at the same time doesn't hamstring them at the same time with a too big signing bonus. So I'm glad for them in that regard, and it's is also a big hey, you guys better be able to put some players around me to help me win another cup with the money that I'm saving you guys. So we'll see how this bears out for him.
We had another assassination attempt against President Trump, and this time history says that this is a former Trump supporter in 16, but in 18 or 17, I guess, he felt that Trump's behavior made the Ukraine in danger, and felt it was his fault that Ukraine is in trouble now. It goes to show, Aaron, the irony in this. Walk with me for a little bit. The irony in this is with the way Trump has talked about people and asked people to be literally killed or hung or, arrested, death penalties he's wanted to have, with former generals. And all of a sudden, his life is in danger, twice in a matter of a few months.
Here's the thing is, he didn't get off a shot. I don't think he was even in position when he was approached by law enforcement officers and they stopped him.
Well, they said they saw the barrel of the gun through the trees, but there was no Trump for him to shoot because Trump was back, I think, 2 holes. He was 2 holes back of where they saw that gun.
If past shooters are any indication of whether or not Trump was actually in danger, this shot would have been from even further away than the first attempt on Trump's life. I don't think that he would have been in any danger from Ryan Wesley Routh in that regard. The fact that security was so lax, I think the FBI warned Trump not to go golfing just because conditions at that particular course were not conducive to adequate security, but Trump went ahead and did it anyways. I find it interesting that these are former Republicans that are coming out.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying is that he's the people that are coming after him are people that were his allies, and for some reason, I think the simple thing to say is this: that there are crazy people in this world, and when you feed the crazy, don't be surprised if the crazy comes to visit you. That's the way I see this. Raise the insanity in the United States with all this terrible stuff that they're promoting and talking about. Dogs being stolen and eaten. Cat ladies. All this stuff. It generates a little bit of craziness beyond the norm. Like when I say beyond the norm, I mean you can be crazy angry with Trump or a politician, right? But you would never think of killing them. It wouldn't be something you'd think about. And this now we know for a fact there are people thinking about it, And so much so that they feel they can actually do it and or get away with it.
Well, that's what's always confused me about these individuals that attempt to assassinate people sitting in office. You know, I, you're not going to get to them. That's the long and the short of it is. You know, heck, what's even more confusing to me is Elon Musk has defense contracts, and he's openly positing on Twitter, why aren't people trying to assassinate Biden and Harris? And this is the guy that the government's giving money to. Like I don't know how he still has defense contracts after comment.
I don't know. I don't know how he. It's well, we talk about norm. I'm going to talk about decency, and the indecency that's going on here is just it's palpable, and it's. You're right. It's frightening. Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Hey, always glad to be here, Frank.
Yeah, he's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.